Digimon Liberator started on April 25th with issue 1. We've had quite a bit now to be able to fully know what we are getting from Digimon Liberator. The comic has now finished 6 issues, the web novel has finished 4 chapters, and there are an additional 10 tips currently available for you to dive deeper into the lore of the game and the world in which it takes place. It truly is something that is made to show off the Digimon card game. So those of you who like the card game, I'm sure you will enjoy this. For others, it may need a little bit more to keep us going. It has been going long enough that it is past due that I made a video sharing some of what we got and what my thoughts are about this manga novel, especially because looking through YouTube, pretty much nobody has talked about this anywhere on YouTube for almost 3 months, including myself, unless you tune into my news videos. And just as a quick aside, I've been a huge Digimon fan, Digimon Adventure back in the day. I want to love everything that it does, but I also not some mindless fanboy that will tell you every single thing that they do is great. I wish I could say that honestly, everything was great, but some out there have questioned why I'm so tough on this comic, novel, and tips. So let me actually get into the details and reasons. If you want to tell me I'm wrong, that is what the comments section is for. These crazy, nerdy arguments where you will tell me how amazing it is and how wrong I am, and that is fine. So, let us start into the meat of everything that most people have looked into the most and remember the most, the comic. Now, I will start right away, just up front. The art in it is generally very good. It looks very nice. A lot of the battles are very interesting. The Digimon are drawn very well. There's a lot of interesting things to it, unless you count that Pex part at the end of the most recent issue that looks like some sort of inappropriate drug trip and really hard to read. That wasn't so great. But everything else has been looked pretty good about it. That is definitely not something that I have concerns about. And I mean, it started out very strong with issue 0 introducing our 2 main characters, the 2 big shots with Zenith and Owen that we've pretty much almost never seen since. Owen's done a little now, but that wasn't the concern. It was more about Arisa and Shoto. Which, honestly, the other day when my brother and I were talking about it, we had to second guess ourselves about Arisa's name. Now, that's just me, but that goes to show you how much we've fallen off and not been that invested in these characters. But issue 1 was very good. I fully admit it got me hooked after issue 1. I put out videos about it, you can go back and look. I was very excited with issue 1, because we got into Liberator and the world of Lacuna that it was going about, which was very new and different. There was a lot that could happen here. It was a lot of potential. And they started off with a friendly battle to begin to explain some of the mechanics of Digimon, the card game, for people who don't necessarily know it, because there's a lot of people in the Digimon community that don't know the card game. But they didn't go through and explain the very basics, how many cards are in the deck, how many that the security shields are from your deck, so the security shields just kind of appear. They don't explain that, what's suspend, what's unsuspend. They do explain some things, but if they truly wanted to use it as an explanation for people that don't know the card game, they really didn't do enough in order to do that. When exactly does the breeding phase happen? When can it not happen? All of these things that, if you played the game, you know very well, and it's not like it's gone through to explain more of that as it goes. It's gone to the complicated part of the card game where it has 10 different effects activating from a single attack, especially the most recent battle. We'll get into that a little later. So they do that, and then we get the first introduction of the rogue NPCs. So we already started on the storyline. Okay, cool, we're jumping right into it. Teromon shows up, and we kind of get to meet Shumon. Shumon shows up, but Shumon never really talks that much anyway. There's only a little bit of talking that it did during a later fight in Chapter 4, but there's really not a lot to know of Shumon at this point. It's a very quiet Digimon. And then issue 2 kind of started the problem, where there was the fight against the rogue NPC. And there was enough talking there because we had just met Teromon, so we got to talk a little bit to be able to get to, get the relationship between partner and human, which is very important to Digimon, unless you count things like this that don't make them have to grow together because you just have megas in the very first battle. And I think that is a large part of my personal issues, is that Digimon is all about the growth. It's all about the partners growing stronger together and growing closer, and sure, there has been some character growth here, but in the sense of Digimon, there's never going to be those great moments because the card game doesn't lend itself to that, and that's really some of the things I'm looking for. So, I mean, I fully was invested and read through issue 2, but it was like, Okay, that's fine. But, of course, the main character wins. I mean, I wouldn't expect him to lose his first fight, but it's also, like in many things in this series, that there isn't a lot of downside. There hasn't been a lot of setbacks yet. And then we move into Chapter 3, where usually these odd numbers, we move back into the story. That's cool. So we meet Vi here, or Violet. And it's just a bit of talking. She almost gets a little too much information, so they run away, and we meet Cool Boy here. And what he tells us here would have been very interesting if you weren't also reading the novel. But who's going to be reading the comic and not reading the novel? If you're into this, you're into this. You're reading all of it, right? Or let me know if you're not down in the comments below. But I have to assume if you're watching one, you're watching the other. So why are they both going over the same material? And that is an even bigger concern moving forward as we get deeper into possible spoiler territory towards the end of this. And so, but he tells us about NPCs, beware of wild Digimon. And they're all worried that they could possibly get in trouble. And it's like, ooh, okay, here's some tension. Here's some stuff that could actually build up into something, cause problems. They have to either come clean and get punished, or, things could certainly happen here. And then issue 4 happens, and Vi threatens to reveal them, so we get this battle. And for an entire month, we just have a card battle. And I'm sure this is common for manga, that battles take a long time, that this is the longest thing. But this was one of those times where I read every panel, I'm pretty sure, but I started to glaze over over some of this fight, because it's just so long to do a fight. And sure, we got to understand a little bit of Arisa and Shumon, and like they worked on a deck together. That's great, but that's a one-panel flashback of them working together on this. If you want me to understand Shumon's character, I need more from it. I guess the puppet, her, him, however you want to say it. Say her because it goes to Cinderellamon. And I can't even be excited that Cinderellamon showed up for the first time, because they spoiled it at Digimon Con what all of their forms would be. So even trying to keep myself kind of spoiler free, by attending the biggest event that every single Digimon fan is going to watch, they spoiled it there. So one of the bigger draws of meeting the new Digimon was gone for the first few issues. Thankfully, in later issues, we've actually had some newer Digimon come out that we don't know, so that gives me something to look forward to the even-numbered ones. But that's about it. And issue 5, I think, was one of their best ones yet, because they got to meet Yao, the newest girl that came in, which it seems like they're trying to put a lot of characters in for something that is already kind of moving slow, and I don't feel like I know all that much about a lot of these characters already, and they're still adding more. So I wonder how much they're really going to be able to give characters meaningful things in time to do. So that's definitely a concern of mine. And they find out that they were lying, that Arisa and Shoto lied to them. They found out about Terramon and all the cards, and nothing happens. In fact, they reward them for this by inviting them into the garden and telling them the secrets. I mean, it is explained that Terramon and Shumon probably wouldn't work with them if they banned the people that they like. I mean, there is some truth to that. But to just get them, to have them go off scot-free and then invite them into the debug team, which is what the novel's about. Why have a separate story for the debug team if you're going to bring the main story into the debug team? It just makes it feel all the more redundant, as we'll talk about more redundancies when we talk about the novel and stuff, is that the novel actually already spoiled that they were going to fight and test Shoto about joining. So we already knew that from the novel, that you're trying to tell a side story that only comes out every 3 months, so there's going to be some kind of stuff like that, but it really makes me wonder what the side story is going to be all the more with the novel. It really just seems like a way to do the battles to introduce some new Digimon. And that really seems to be the front and foremost thing with the novel, and everything else is kind of a background to it. Which, don't get me wrong, Digimon is all about selling merchandise. Buy the cards, buy the toys, buy everything. But at least be subtle about it. Don't just shove it down our throats. But issue 5, as I said, I want to talk about it and say that it did good things. it told us that Lacuna is actually a copy of this digital world that they created in order to be a game to bring people in. The cards help to protect Digimon that can't live in Lacuna, even though they end up leaking over there. But Terramon and Shumon are different, so we have to research them. That's why there's so much interest in them. And okay, there's a lot of cool stuff. We're evolving the story, talking about it, and Owen steps in and grinds everything to all. And Elizamon, everyone was so looking forward to meeting her. She is kind of cute, definitely a bit of a loudmouth, so there's some things to like there with her. But then it grinded everything to the halt that the next 2 issues, once again, we're now battling Yao. Not even fighting the person that called him out and, you know, who could have a heated, really interesting fight with to prove him wrong, or at least, you know, show that he's made progress but maybe can't quite keep up with the second in the world trainer or something. No. I mean, we do get to meet Marine Bullmon and Ryuguamon here, so we got some new forms that weren't spoiled already, so that's like the first new forms we actually get to see in the comic side, so cool. And then, like I said, that flashback where he's talking to Owen is so hard on the eyes. Oh man, I hope in Japanese that worked better, because in English that was hard to read. And as I said, at the end of it, they go into emote only chat because they only talk in emotes for the last few panels, except for saying welcome to the debug team. They've joined. Alright, so we've mixed these two together, making one of them redundant. I mean, yes, there's other characters, but I had to look up the name of Ryu and Suzune when I was doing my research for this video, because I didn't their names at all. I at least remember the other 2 characters that we met in the first one, but I had to look up the other 2. So yeah, so let's just talk about the novel briefly. There's not quite as much here, so this should go a little faster. So in the first one, we meet Yuki and Itmon, and I will say that is probably the best interaction between a partner and their human and Digimon partner that we've had this entire run. They are definitely at odds. Itmon's actually quite mad at her for how impulsive she is. She's actually seems like she has room to grow there and working on things, and you know, it went and fought something that they knew she shouldn't and everything, and it was very good. I will give them credit for that. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And once again, talking about the rogue NPCs, so at least, you know, it seemed like it fit the same world. They go back and fight the NPC, and we get new Impmon forms, which this is exactly the formula for every single one of these novel entries, where we have human and partner interactions. I will admit 3 and 4 have a little bit more than that, and in their first one, they're at least trying to do something more with the world. And then issue 2 is just a battle. So, and it's not even the full battle. It's usually like only 1 or 2 turns in the battle. And it shows off 5 or 6 new cards that they're going to be introducing soon, so go buy these cards. And that's exactly what happens in issue 2 with Winter and Fun Demon. The best part about it is honestly the teasing of the main scenario. I would love this series so much more, I believe, if we got more of the main scenario. Because as regular players, it would make sense if Arisa and Shoto were going through the main scenario. The debug team was working more with these rogue NPCs. Sure, the rogue NPCs could be messing with the main scenario, but I mean, the whole main scenario that's all about this world where you've crash landed and you can't go back to your home planet unless you find some place that can sustain life, and a dying android hands you your first deck and tells you, you know, to go forth and explore the world. And oh my gosh, that sounds 10 times more interesting than just about anything that Liberator has done so far. So that is, and it's just like in the most recent tip, they tease more of the main scenario. I'm like, oh, no, that's right, it's just a tease, nothing more here. Because they tease the main scenario because Winter goes to the ruins there and fights one of the main NPCs there with his new deck. Because he also got new cards, where we met Forge Beamon, Vesmamon, and Queen Beamon here. But once again, that's all the second one was, and it was just beating a random NPC. At least Novel 3 with Ryu, or Ryutaru, as I said, I had to look up his name for this video. They at least are, you know, doing an investigation of wrongdoing. They're not just going after these rogue NPCs, he's going after a whole organization that's cheating people out of currency in the game, and so he has to go and battle them. And we even get to meet, honestly, the coolest Digimon I've seen in quite a while. I like Dynamon, if you want to say the Japanese version. Whatever. That thing is awesome. Give me more of that. I mean, I love dinos, I love dragons. Look at my avatar. But that was awesome. But then he goes through and takes care of this bad guy and offers him an alt account to come back. This is so much of modern storytelling of no one's actually ever evil. There's no good and evil. There's just kind of shades of gray. I mean, sometimes that can work, but this is some scumbag who's cheating everybody out of their stuff. If you don't just deal with that as a admin, you're just inviting people to do more of it. If he comes back, what would stop him from just doing more because you gave him another account? Plus, this guy that he helped got himself his own profile in the character section. Are these people coming back? There's not that much. If rumors are to be believed, there's only 2 more releases for the novel. There's only going to be a total of 8 chapters. I mean, that is rumor. I could be wrong on that. But that means we're halfway done with this novel. Whoa. And we still have more characters to introduce. So what is it going to do? And like, if people were really excited for Yuki and Itmon being the main characters and like doing a bunch of stuff because we don't have as many female main characters, they barely are in these other ones. And I assume if we're going to keep doing more characters, that's going to kind of continue. Because we meet Suzune and Frigimon in Novel 4, and they're investigating the rogue NPCs. And again, we learn some of the stuff that is reinforced in the novel about the NPCs inhabiting objects and the Digimon inhabiting objects and NPCs in order to try and survive. And some mysterious person is giving out quests trying to collect these Digimon. So there is some interest there. There is some things that could grow from there. But because we have to wait 3 months in between, my excitement of, oh, where could this go? I just kind of actually reminded myself as I'm talking about this that, oh yeah, that was a thing. Because 3 months is just so long that any excitement that you build up, it can stick around for a few weeks, like you remember it, but then just over time, it's so harder to remember all this stuff until you view these videos or look back into it yourself. So the novel is incredibly formulaic, and honestly the comic somewhat is too, not to quite as bad of an extent, but there is enough there. They're hunting down people. I just hope we can actually find some like villains to this and actually like build a proper story to this. Because after we look into those, there's also the tips that come out. I'm not going to go too deep into the tips because most of them are pretty small. They're fairly average thing. I mean, the first 2 that came out, I loved. The one that actually fully introduced Lacuna, what all it could be, what all the different things you could do there, different zones, shops, everything that it explains. Especially with the second one also that explained all the different NPCs that help you to travel, to battle, to main story ones, to just funny ones. There were so many different types of NPCs to talk to. It was really cool. And then we got to tip number 3, which helped to cover the battle that happened between the rogue NPC. And sure, it did help straighten out a few things, but again, only if you had a baseline understanding of Digimon card game can you understand what it was saying. It really seemed like it needed something for dummies that was a part of this. Do a trailer video in there that literally said, I know they've done Digimon card game trailers that at least tell you the different card types and they have a tutorial app, but that's totally separate. Not everyone's gone out and done that, or maybe even realizes that it's a thing that's out there because, well, not all Digimon fans are Digimon card game fans. It is a very separate thing. But then like some of the other ones where it was talking about what the D-storage can do in game, it's smartphone that is also your storage. Really the ones that are the coolest are the ones that were introducing the different areas. The Central District Jewel, the most recent one that was talking about the coast, that also teased the main story and made it really interesting about a mysterious lighthouse that in the basement only once a month during a storm it kicks off and it's some spooky spirits and a portal. And yes, please. No. And just a lot of these are like teasing this, like it's a real game, like you can go play it, this is the patch notes, and this is what your D-storage can do in the real world, because they're also selling you a D-storage in real life, but of course you can't do this stuff. And it's all the more just kind of reminding us of, hey dummies, you don't have a game, haha. We're giving mobile games to China, but the rest of you, yeah, you don't matter. And so I just really hope that it can focus down and give us something more of a focus, more of a villain to go after, less of just feeling like this battle that just happened, didn't even matter if he won or lost, supposedly. So they couldn't even let him lose a battle that they said he could lose. So there always needs to be, in good storytelling, things that are setbacks, things that you have to overcome and grow to get across, villains that you have to find and overcome. These are the kind of things that I really just hope we can find, because they were really missing in Ghost Game. They're missing here. Seekers only kind of really had a villain until the very end, where he kind of revealed himself, and it was like, oh, now all this is very strange, and your plot doesn't even work unless this guy that hasn't even reaches ultimate. If he didn't, then you'd be screwed and everyone would die, or be DMA. It's just like, but yeah, I think I've rambled on long enough for however long this video has rambled on for. I hope that helps explain to you why I have some issues with Digimon Liberator. Sure, the odd number comics, so this comic coming up, I should enjoy. I should think it's very interesting, but like the last month, I've been bored with it. I still scroll through, look through the pretty pictures, and I kind of sort of do follow it because I've played enough of DCGO to understand, but there's nothing really about these battles that really grips me. But I hope that explained some things to you. I hope you enjoyed. And if you have more comments, talk about it down below. What is your experiences with Digimon Liberator? What is some things that you love, some things that you might wish get added? Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you remember to stay safe. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more. And as always, everyone, remember, awesome. The next one, take care.